In the previous tutorial video, we created a class called numericalexpressions.java. Okay, so now let's review what the limitation is for this particular way of doing expressions in numbers. Okay, so now if we run it again, you can see that somehow we got so many lines of output to the console. It's kind of difficult to trace back to see exactly what each line means. For example, if I simply highlight this second 3 over here, so where does this particular 3 come from? All you gotta do is you gotta see, oh, because this 3 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth line. So that means it must be the output from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth statements of the print statement from the program, right? So that means this program produced this 3 over here. It's a very, very bad way of writing your program. Okay, so what we want to show you is you don't really just want to manipulate numbers purely. You want to actually add in some strings, some lines into the console output to actually help you understand what's going on. Okay, let's see exactly how you can do that. Okay, so I'll do something very similar, and then I will make an improved version for this particular numerical expressions. Okay, that's what I will do. So first of all, I will create a new class over here. You can right click on the source folder over here, or you can right click on the default package, doesn't matter. You can say new and then class over here. So let's make something called string expressions. Okay, string expressions, and then make sure you choose the box for the main method. Okay, it would say finish. Okay, so now let me just make a very, it's very easy to understand. Okay, so basically I can say system.out.println. Okay, what I can do is, now normally, let's say I want to calculate the average between two numbers. Okay, so for example, what's the average between 5 and 2, for example? What I can do is, if I say 5, by the way, if I simply say 5 plus 2, and of course, we know that if I simply say, okay, several things over here, 5 plus 2 divided by 2. Do you think this is going to work? Okay, it's really important to see this one here. Okay, so now, is the first of all, what should be the average, mathematically speaking? What should be the average between 5 and 2? It should be 3.5, right? We know 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 divided by 2 should be 3.5. However, is this particular expression going to give us 3.5? Okay, that's a question. Okay, let's try to see. Well, it's actually, you can even answer this without knowing Java, indeed. Okay, so now if we have 5 plus 2 divided by 2, as we learned from the math in the elementary school, multiplication and division goes before addition, which means to evaluate this, 2 divided by 2 is going to be evaluated first, which is 1. 5 plus 1 would be 6. Okay, let's see if that's really the case. Okay, so now for the very first time, I'm going to right click on this string expressions class and say run as Java application. Okay, that's exactly 6. Why? Look at the explanation over here. So now, as we learned back in high school or even elementary school, how can we force the order of evaluation? We use a pair of parentheses. Okay, what we can do instead is to say we force 5 plus 2 to be done first and then divided by 2. Mathematically speaking, we know that it should be 3.5, right? However, now we talk about programming. Sometimes there might be some discrepancy between programming and mathematical thinking. Okay, is this going to be 3.5? If you can answer this, that's good. That means you learned well from the previous tutorial video. If you think this is simply just going to produce 3.5, you might have not very a solid understanding from the previous tutorial video. Okay, let's try out. Okay, so now if I simply say over here, no, it's actually, for this one, it's going to be 6. Okay, and now I can say system.out.println. Okay, and then over here I can say, let's say I want to force the order evaluation 5 plus 2 divided by 2. And now is this going to return 3.5? Okay, let's try. If I just, since I already executed its Java application for the first time, so it's been memorized. So now I can click on the play. apparently it's not really 3.5, it says simply 3. So why? Okay, if you look at that, you can see that the order of evaluation, of course, is going to be that we're going to do 5 plus 2 first, which is going to be 7. Now, 7 divided by 2 in Java, as we said in the previous tutorial video, briefly speaking, for the division, if both sides are integers, it will only give to you the quotients. Okay, which means rather than 3.5, it's going to give you 3. Okay, so how can I force some precision on the result? You have to say, you have to change either side to be 0.0. Okay, so now if you simply do something like 5 plus 2, 0.0 divided by 2, while conceptually I can appreciate what you're doing, but it's not going to be valid. Okay, you can give a try on Eclipse, but it's not going to compile. Okay, so what you should do is 5 plus 2 divided by 2, and you're going to add 0.0 over here. That means this part is going to be 7, and now not the case that both sides are actually integer. That means it's going to force precision for the output, and it's going to give you 3.5. Okay, it's a very tiny example, but illustrates many things that we talked about previously. It's very fundamental. Okay, make sure you understand that. Okay, so what we can do is, so now, okay, let's say no is going to be 3. Okay, finally, system.out dot println. Oops. Okay, let me just, I'm not sure what I hit, but just say stop. Okay, you don't have to worry. I accidentally hit some button here. Okay, println over here, and then I would say 5 plus 2 to be done first, but I'll say divided by 2.0. Okay, and then of course I made some typo here. Okay, so now it's going to be 3.5. Okay, it's a comments. Okay, so now let's try. Execute it. Okay, it's really going to be 3.5. So now, now I want to show you exactly how we can interleave verbatim strings and to make your console output more meaningful. Okay, how do we do that? First of all, we can simply say, for example, you can say system.out.println. For example, we can say we have various attempts to calculate the average between 5 and 2. Okay. Okay, so now let's see that. So that's the first line that's going to be printed. Okay, let's just print it right away. Okay, let me just move it a little bit over here. Okay, so now I would say play over here. So now we have various attempts to calculate the average between 5 and 2. And now there we go. We got 3 different results. But let's now make more console output to them. Okay, we can simply say over here. So now let me show you exactly how you can mix between the strings and the numbers. Okay, first of all, we can say over here, you can say now over here, let me show you different ways of doing it. Let's say in the same line, we want to say 5 plus 2 divided by 2 is going to give us, for this line here, is going to give us 6. Okay, now let me show you another print statements. We somehow want to print something at the same line as this line over here. Basically, something at the same line as a 6. Okay, how do we do that? Okay, so I can say system.out.print rather than print line, which means the print is just going to do something in the first line, in the second line, and then this print line is going to end the first line. Okay, so you can always have some combination of several print, and end it with a print line. So they will all be on the same line. Okay, so now what I can do is I can say over here, 5 plus 2 divided by 2 is like that. Okay, so now let me just make it a little bit better. So by the way, you can see that over here, this empty line over here and this empty line over here, they are simply just the empty line in your programming code. They will not be reflected on the console. They are not part of the program. Okay, so now let's see if we execute it. We're gonna have 5 plus 2 divided by 2 is 6. Okay, so I would say this is much more meaningful than simply say if we see 6 over here and you have to trace back to this particular print statement. Okay, hopefully you can see the advantage of this. Okay, this is one example where I simply have a print statement over here, and then I simply after print statement I also have another print line. I can show you even more. Okay, what about I have system, if you like, you can have as many print as you like. System.out dot print. Okay, let me say is over here, and you can say this. So that means 5 plus 2 divided by 2 space is space and this result. All the three will be printed in the same line. Okay, let's try to see. Hopefully you get an idea. If I do that, it will say 5 plus 2 divided by 2 is 6. Okay, study that. So now, how do we do similar comments over here? Okay, so now I'll show you a different way of doing it. You can also say, I want to have a single print line statements over here. I want to mix between strings and numbers. Okay, this is something you want to be a little bit more careful. Okay, so here's the thing. Always, if you want to have a calculation over here, always put it inside a pair of parentheses. Okay, and then you want to do the string you like to say. You can say, I want to say 5 plus 2 divided by 2 is, and then I put a plus over here. Okay, so now what exactly would this produce, right? You can see it may not make it may be a little bit strange to you, because when we talk about plus, it simply means numerical addition. I agree. And then on the right hand side we got a number, which is going to be 3. On the left hand side we got a string. How can you add a string to a number? Okay, so I will execute it and explain to you. And if you try to execute it, you will simply got 5 plus 2 divided by 2 is 3. It seems like what happened was we're going to calculate this numerical expression over here. We're going to get 3. And then 3 is going to be combined with this particular string literal over here, right? That's what happened. Let's see exactly. I want to analyze to you. Okay, let me just copy this to my iPad and then I will switch. Okay, look at this expression a little bit more and then I will show you. Okay, 5 plus 2 divided by 2 is, and plus 5 plus 2 divided by 2. Okay, okay, let me switch to iPad and then show you. This is what we have, right? And of course we got a print line. System.out print line. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, let's try to understand this. Okay, we know very well this part over here is a string literal. Okay, it's simply just a string that will be output verbatim to the console. And this over here, as we learned from the previous tutorial video, this is so-called a number literal. Or number expression. Okay, we got this is a number literal, this is number literal, this is also number literal. We combine them together using some operator. Okay, it's an expression. And now what about the plus over here? So there is some implicit operation that Java performed for you. Okay, just for your convenience. Even though it's a little bit confusing if you didn't know the trick. When you try to use a plus together with string and also number in this case, right? So this becomes not really a numerical addition. It becomes something called concatenation. Which means whatever result it is, in this case is going to be 3. The quotient, right? Is going to implicitly convert this numerical result, which is 3, into the string literal 3, and then combine these two together. So it's as if you try to say this string literal verbatim and then put a 3 at the end. Okay, so it's going to be eventually at the console over there, what you saw was 5 plus 2 divided by 2 is, and then this part of the string is 3. That's what you will see. Okay, so that's something I want to explain to you. Make sure you try to understand that carefully. Okay, so now this is what we have, and now finally let's do something similar here. Again, you want to really put the numerical operation over here inside a pair of parentheses. Okay, make sure you do that. And then we're going to say exactly what we can do. 5 plus 2 divided by 2.0 is, and then plus for concatenation. Okay. Okay, so now this will be 3.5. So now if we execute the code again, it's going to be 5 plus 2 divided by 2.0 is 3.5. You can see now it's much more meaningful output over here because you don't have to look back to your source code. You can simply look at console output, you know exactly what you're calculating. It's a very important thing to understand how to concatenate string and number expressions together. How about concatenating string? It cannot be easier. Let me show you. And then I will try to create a new version for numerical expressions. Okay. So what I will do now is, let me go back here. Let me do another one for you. So now, I have a question for you. Give it a try. What if, let's see, so far we have seen how you can compile the source code and see the console application, the console output. So now let me give you a little bit of exercise over here. Okay? So now, let's say I want to generate the following console output. I want to have, let's say, Lassonde School of Engineering. Let's say I want to have a single line. Okay? However, I want to put it a slightly different way. I want to say, rather than having a single string literal, I want to have, let's say, 3 or maybe even 4 different string literals and concatenate them together. Okay, it's very easy to see. I just want to show you quickly. So I can say system.out dot println Lassonde School of Engineering. Okay, that's the first one, and let's just execute it, and it shouldn't be too surprising to you. Lassonde School of Engineering. So now, what if I try the following with some concatenation? System.out dot println, and over here I can say Lassonde a space, and then school a space plus Lassonde School of Engineering of, okay, you can kind of see the idea, but now I'm just going to, okay, of engineering. Okay, kind of, you can see that it's going to be basically all the every plus over here is going to concatenate all the string together. It's going to be this string first, put to the console, followed by a space, followed by school, followed by a space, followed by off, followed by engineering. Okay? Okay, let's see if they will be equivalent. If not, then we can fix it. Okay, that's pretty much the same, right? They are actually the same. Question for you. What if I simply get rid of that? Are they going to be the same anymore? Well, possibly not. Let's see. If I execute again, you can see that there's no space between off and engineering, simply because when we concatenate, we simply concatenate engineering after off over here. What we did previously is to have a space over here, right? So notice the difference. It's really important to see. Okay, and then I would say play. Okay, so now that's what we have. So now in this simple example here, we show you how you can do concatenation between 2 strings or multiple strings. We also show you how you can do concatenation between number expressions over here and also string together. So the string over here, the mix of string and integers, they can really show you very meaningful outputs over here. Okay, that's really something you want to also get used to. Also the difference between print and print line. Of course, you can definitely really split your output into several prints, as many prints as you like, ended with a print line. Okay, as I just illustrated. So now final exercise for us is to improve the console output for this particular example, which we did previously. Okay, if I simply say run as, let's try again, Java application, you can see these are the numbers which we don't really want to trace back to the source code, which is really inconvenient. How can we improve it? Okay, let's try that. Let me show you another useful operation here on Eclipse. I want to copy this particular class but with a different name. Let's call it numerical expressions 2. Okay, so now I can simply right click on this, and then I can say copy. Okay, and then back to the source, and then I can right click, and then I can say paste. So copy and paste basically. Okay, and now it's going to ask me what should be the new name for this particular class, the duplicate for that. Okay, so you got to give a name over here. Whatever name you give to here, it's going to create exactly the class with the name and also the file name accordingly. Okay, you can call it numerical expressions 2. Let's call it numerical expressions 2, version 2. Okay, it's over here. You can see that that's exactly numerical expressions 2. If you go back to your project folder, you can see numerical expressions 2. Okay, so what we want to do now is to actually mix the string and the integer all together. Okay, so now what I can do is like this. I can simply copy this particular line. Oh, actually, this is not. Okay, that's fine. I think only for this particular one I can do that. Okay, let's say okay, let me just copy. Okay, let me not delete the comments. You can Control C to copy it. And now I want to have a string literal over here and plus, and make sure you wrap it with parentheses. That's number 1. And then we can also copy this expression over here, and then put a string literal here, concatenation for the strings, and the integer. Okay. Okay, of course, you can say, rather than is, you can put a colon over here. Okay, it's completely up to you how you want to format the output. And then the next one would be 15 multiplied by 4. Okay, you put a colon over here, and then plus 15 multiplied by 4. Okay, and then over here we're gonna get a remainder. Okay, so now we can make a little bit more comments over here. So now we can say 15 divided by 4 gives the quotients. And plus, okay, hopefully you're following. Okay, and then over here we can say 15 modulo 4 gives the remainder. Okay, and then make sure wrap it with a pair of parentheses over here. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, and now we can also say 23 divided by 4 gives the quotients. Okay, wrap it with a pair of parentheses. I really want you to type this by yourself rather than giving you the source code, because it's really important that you got hands-on experience on this. Okay. Okay, and then 23 percentage sign 4 gives you the remainder. Gives the remainder. Okay. Okay, and now over here, you don't necessarily have to give out exactly that. So now you want to say, I can even say this. I can say divisor quotient divisor multiply quotients plus remainder. Original number. Okay, something like that, right? I'm just trying to show you that, of course, whatever output format you like is completely up to you. Okay, and then now let's see over here. Okay, this will be interesting. So now output 1 plus 1 verbatim. Okay, that's 1 plus 1. Okay, and then here we can say output the result of calculating 1 plus 1. And of course, we have to say 1 plus 1. Okay, make sure you wrap it within parentheses. If you didn't, it would be not actually, you know what? This will actually still not an error, but it will actually got very weird result, which I would like you to try. Okay, actually we can try it out together with you since I talk about it. Okay, so now question for you. You know what? For now, okay, let's think about this. You know, for now, I'll promise I'll talk about this example as an ending example for this tutorial video. For now, I'm just going to put it here, and then I'll talk about an extra example for you in just a moment. Okay, so now always put the bottom line is always put the end pair of parentheses over here so that you will get a calculation result. Okay, and now okay, so now let me put a colon and space over here, and then finally what I will get is, so now I want to say 5.2 divided by 2 gives a result with precision decimal point. Okay, and then you want to actually do this over here, and then you want to do another one. You say 5 divided by 2.5 gives a result with precision. Okay, and then you really also want to put this one here. Okay, so now, so always put parentheses around. Okay, so that you will, so Java will actually understand you're trying to calculate the result first for this before you try to concatenate the result as a string to the string on the left. Okay, let's execute it, and then I'll talk about the example I just promised to talk about. Okay, so now I will just execute this program over here. So for the first time, I'm going to right click on this particular class, numerical expressions 2, run as Java application. Okay, so you can double check with it. Okay, you can see now we got very good output that's very informative and easy to really follow. 15 plus 4 is 19, and also 15 divided by 4 gives the quotient, which is 3, and also 15 modulo 4 is also remainder 3. Okay, something like that. Okay, you do see the idea. Okay, so really compare the two versions. Version number 1, where we only got numbers on the output, which will give something like this. Okay, it will give us something like this, which is very difficult to trace for each line where exactly is it produced. And then over here, the version number 2, by really mixing the strings and numbers together using concatenation, will get very meaningful result over here. Okay, so now finally let me talk about one very tricky example, but it's really worth knowing. Okay, let me just go back to the string expressions over here. Okay, and then let me just put it a line over here. Okay, basically I want to do a comparison like this. System.out dot print line. Okay, I will simply say okay, let's say a string. Let's say experiments. Experiments 1. Oh, actually, let's just say experiment A. How about that? Plus 1 plus 1. How experiments with concatenating 1 plus 1. I think that'll be good. Okay, and then I'm gonna have a second line over here, experiment with concatenating and 1 plus 1. Okay, and then I'm gonna have 1 plus 1. So now, first of all, you can see that for now for my program here, especially for these two lines, none of them has triggered any errors because there's no red underline, there's no red cross, there's no red underline here, right? So now, what will be the output over here? Okay, for this one here, since we follow exactly what I just told you, they simply bracket them. So it's going to be experiment with concatenating 1 plus 1 will be 2. What about this? Okay, so now let's try that, and then I'll explain to you what happened to the second one. I'll compare them. Okay, so now if I try this, let me go back to string expressions over here, right click on that and say run as Java application. Okay, ooh, this one is actually good. Okay, it's going to be 2 because we calculate 1 plus 1. What about the second one? Okay, if I click on the play button here, it tells experiment with concatenating 1 plus 1. Why is that 11? I'm deliberately trying to mislead you. okay, in this case, you shouldn't call this 11. If I say this is basically 1, 1, that's basically what happened. Okay, let me just try to explain to you exactly what happened, okay, on the iPad, okay? So now basically we got two possibilities over here, right? So now version number 1. So in both cases, we got print line over here, right? And also we got print line over here. And in both cases, we have some string over here. I'll say dot 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 rather than writing them out, okay? And plus, and also dot dot dot, plus, okay? In the first case, we got 1 plus 1. In the second case, we actually don't have this extra pair of parentheses. We simply get 1 plus 1. Okay, now let's talk about something we already know, and then we talk about something we haven't really seen. Okay, of course, after each one of them, you got semicolon, right? The first one over here. So now here, this plus over here, since it's within this particular parenthesis, which means we're going to do some calculation now. Okay, so now this is addition. And then 1 plus 1 is going to give you 2. Okay, no problem about it. And then because this is a string over here, when you say string plus some number, okay, so this is going to be concatenation, which means it's as if Java is going to implicitly convert this calculation result into 2 and then concatenate this to the end of this. That is why you saw over here 2 concatenated with this particular string. Experiment with concatenating 1 plus 1, right? Concatenate with this particular string. That's what happened. What about the second one? The second one over here, basically there's no numerical calculation to be done. That means we have a string over here, and this is the 1 itself is just 1. 1 itself is also 1. Implicitly, Java is going to convert this into a string literal, just 1. This is going to be another string literal, just 1. And these two, especially this one here, you might be thinking that this should be addition. No, it's not really a numerical addition. These two are both concatenation, which means it's going to be whatever. That's why in the console you will see dot 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 followed by this one here and followed by this one here. That's why you see something that looks like 11. Okay, let me execute it again. That's why you see something look like 11, but it's not actually 11. It's actually 1 1. Okay, hopefully you can see the idea. All right, it's tricky, but it's something you should know as a programmer. You should know exactly what you're writing. Both are actually possible scenarios depending on which one you want. You should know which one to write. Okay, so review this video very carefully before we start talking about something called variables in the next video.